And let's talk about motivations for story characters. And I'll share my screen then. And let's have presentation mode. Okay, I've got a connection to Adobe stock images or a license lately. So from the TAMK and Tuni, which I have shamelessly been using for making presentations in the last few weeks. Okay, so each story character should have a motivation to do what they do. And there are different kinds of motivations. So not everybody is motivated by the same thing, not by far. And this is something that you can use in your stories. So if we start from the bottom, so to say, but still, which is still really important. So you could think of this as the feet part. So there's the basic survival, that you have to find food, you have to find something to drink, you have to have shelter. So, and if some or all of these are missing, then your character will have a very strong motivation to get them. And okay, if you have characters in like really extreme conditions, then hunger, thirst, searching for shelter are great motivators. And so there are these movies about natural catastrophes, like maybe volcano eruptions or some terrorist strikes, wars, alien invasions. So maybe you can find some examples, or maybe some examples come to your mind of these kinds of stories or movies that you have seen lately.
Something like Walking Dead or
Walking Dead, zombies. That's a great example. What else? There are, by the way, other kinds of war stories that have other motivations than the basic survival, and we'll come to them later. And yeah, the ending doesn't have to be happy, not for all the characters at least. So, and this goes for all the tropes that I've listed here. And they are kind of tropes, but the good thing about tropes is that you can embrace them if you do it with all your heart, and if you sincerely believe in that trope, and if you want to. So you can take the trope and tear it apart, or maybe break it, or maybe put it together with some other trope. But there's no anybody can use these tropes. That's the beauty of them, and they are at some level universally true. But you have to make them your own if you want to use them. Okay, then if we go a little bit upwards in a person's body, we started with the feet here, that your feet had to be on solid ground, that you had to have like food, then there are other needs in the human body. If we go a bit upwards, you have the genitals. So, and you have enjoyment in general, like physical pleasure. Like when your basic needs have been met, then you start, or many people often start seeking physical pleasures. So food is more than just nourishment. It can also give a lot of pleasure to you, as can alcohol or drugs or sex. So this is a powerful motivator for many people, or one of these. And it also comes with characters that have this dislike of uncomfortable conditions. So they are seeking pleasures and they don't want to get into like unpleasurable conditions or uncomfortable conditions, which might make them seem lazy or maybe something else. Okay, can you think of stories or characters, movies, where the characters are looking for physical pleasures, or maybe real life people, politicians? Or
there's a manga that's becoming an anime in a bit called Chainsaw Man, and the main character's motivation for a good part of the show is to touch boobs.
good one. And I think there are also lots of manga that are about eating or drinking. People in restaurants, for instance, or people who go to drink wine. And I think there's one which is manga, which is also an animated series on Netflix called TAMK Rome, which is about, well, going to, what's it called? Kylpylä, like a
bathhouse?
So bathhouse is maybe not the, yeah, to a bathhouse, but it's about bathing and the pleasures of bathing. There's also food, and the main character is somebody who designs bathhouses in ancient Rome, and he goes through a portal into the modern day Japan and sees bathhouses there, and he tries to copy and imitate what he sees, like and in order to make his bathhouses better and more comfortable for people. So this kind of motivator, like physical pleasure as a motivator, it can be treated in a very like superficial sense, like the touching of boobs, or maybe something more deeper, like how to find like the joy of life again if you're depressed or something. That's one of the themes in the TAMK Rome, by the way. That there is nothing inherently bad in seeking pleasure, but there can be. So these kinds of stories can also be stories of anti-heroes, like people for whom the use of drugs becomes so important that nothing else matters anymore. Okay, and okay, let's get further. So after well, we had sex already here, but sex has the like function, original function, so that it can hold together groups, and also the function of making babies, as you have probably heard. So it has a social and a biological function in holding, and that's the next level, in, so to say, that we have families, we have homes, we belong to clans and nations, or that's what we form. So, and as social animals, we have this need to form a group, or to be in a group, or to hold it together. And there's, again, a lot of genres in stories, and that where the main motivation of people is something like this. Like if you think of most romantic stories or sitcoms, they are all about either two people forming a small group, or they are maybe a group of friends coming together. There's even a very long sitcom that you might have heard of called Friends. And it doesn't have to be comedy, can be any kind of family drama. Shakespeare was great with these. Also, he had great army stories, and well, yeah, Shakespearean workplace stories. Maybe if you think about the plays of royalties like that he created. So they were a family, but it was also a workplace, kind of. That's how it goes for royalty. But these can be also turned around in the way that an outsider is looking at a community or maybe a clan that has stagnated. Like think of the Western movies and Western series. Then the outsider brings a disturbance to the balance, which was very much needed because the group has stagnated in some way. And a lot of like space operas are based on these group things, gang stories, crime stories, you name it, or any kind of cop show which shows the police station and the people working there. It also goes here. So there are so many examples that it's actually troublesome to name one particular series. Well, I named Friends already. Okay, so this is a great motivator for your characters. Being part of the group, or maybe trying to get out of the group. That's one variation here. That maybe you have like a cult or something, and your character has been born into that cult, and they want to get away from it. And that there's lots of stories about that too. Or you are being inside the group and you have to defend it from maybe aliens, any kinds of aliens. Or you are the mother character or father character, the matriarch who tries to hold your family together, and not everybody wants it. Okay. Then if we go one step further, this is more individual stuff, where the individual wants to be the alpha person, the alpha male or alpha female in their group. So, but it's also about creativity. So, and the need to become the best in what you do, whatever it is. but the motivation for it is more that you want the fame, you want to have the like acknowledgement of others, that yes, you are the best and you do all you can for that. And there are lots of stories of rock stars, for instance, that go into this. Boxing stories, like in the world of boxing or other sports. It could be about a scientist or a doctor who tries to do something, a politician who tries to become a president or prime minister or whatever. There's the very good Danish series, Borgen, about this woman politician who becomes a prime minister and then again loses that power and then comes back. So here's like the typical arc is that your character rises from the gutter as high as they can, and then they descend back because they do some stupid mistake, or maybe not so stupid mistakes, but or maybe somebody trips them over, and then off they fall again, or they die. So I haven't seen the new Netflix movie Blonde yet, but I'm going to watch it this week, about the life of Marilyn Monroe. Has somebody seen it, by the way, Blonde? The Marilyn movie? Okay, so I've read different kinds of reviews of it, and some like it and some don't, but that makes me even more curious about it. But yes, fame and self-fulfillment, they are like big motivators as well for people. So your character could be like this. And most of you have probably seen The Black Queen, which is about the world of chess. So there's the same kind of themes there as well. Then going still further, we have people who pursue goals for their own sakes. I mean, I took the example of archaeologists here who are digging out skeleton of a T-Rex. Well, they could be wanting fame, but often archaeology is like pretty gruesome, but or well, grueling maybe, that you have to dig and dig and dig without finding much of anything. So, but the theme of exploration is high in this one. So you have people who go exploring space, or exploring caves, or maybe exploring the depths of the ocean, or maybe ocean caves. So take your pick. Artists might be exploring how far they can go with their art without thinking about fame. That's the point here, kind of. Or a scientist might want to know what they can do in their field, like without thinking of any consequences necessarily. And then, because they don't think about the consequences, it might become disastrous. Like you try to find out how to split atoms, and then the consequence is that somebody makes an atom bomb, but that was not what you, as the scientist, originally intended to do. You were just interested in how to split atoms. I included high stories here because when, I mean, yes, if you're trying to steal some precious artifact or maybe a big sum of money, then sometimes the motivator is the greed, the money, but often the person who is the organizer is shown as being more interested in doing the heist, proving that he or she can do it, than of taking any like pleasure from the results, more other than yes, they did it. And that's kind of what also the audience is expecting. And one more to go. There's number 6, saving the world. I mean, here you are pursuing a definite goal, yes, but you want it because you want to make the world a better place, basically, in some way. And you might even be ready to suffer for that cause, or you might be ready to die for it. And this is why this suits characters who are like revolutionaries, or they are pursuing a utopia, or or they might be scientists who are like mocked for what they do, but they still do it because they think they can conquer cancer or whatever, or save a lot of unborn babies from some sort of disease. And yeah, these people do exist. Like here's one example, Mohandas or Mahatma Gandhi. He has lots of statues everywhere in the world, not just in India. I think this image is from Switzerland. So he was a lawyer, but he became something of a revolutionary who believed in like non-violent resistance, and that's how he got independence for India from Great Britain. And he was starving himself many times in order to get what he wanted. And I'm thinking, or can you think of some people living now who have these tendencies, like real people? People you read about in papers, maybe, or see news. Would you say Greta Thunberg is one of them? Is Thunberg ready to suffer for her cause? She has already suffered somewhat. I'm sure she is getting a lot of hate mail all the time, and she probably has had lots of death threats. And as you probably already read here, so this motivation has a dark side as well. So in people who want to destroy or destabilize their world in some way. So they might be thinking they act for the greater good in the long run, or they might think that that the world needs destabilizing. So there are a couple of choices there, big choices, and often in if you have like a Bond movie, then the super villain might be this kind of person who wants to destroy the world, but they are usually also in somehow they want to create their version of utopia or their ideal world. But then again, there are people like the scientist who put lead into the fuel of cars back in the 1940s, it was, or was it 50s? So it was to make car motors function better in some ways, and he knew that there were better ways of doing it, but than putting it lead to fuel, but he did it anyway because it was cheaper than the other choice, and he did it knowingly that he knew that lead, if it would be like breathed in the air of cities, it would most probably kill people. And he actually made some like calculations of how many people it would kill in the next 30 or 40 years, and then but he did it anyway. He was at the head of a like big oil company or gasoline company. So these people do exist who actively want evil to others in okay. So these are the motivations that I came up with for now. Well, I didn't actually come up with these. I took them from somewhere else and put them in a different order, but that's another thing. But yeah, these are some things that you might want to use for your characters, or give them different kinds of motivations. So pursuing the world, pursuing a goal for its own sake, fame, self-fulfillment, home, family, and clan. Then there's hedonism and basic survival.